All right. As we're watching everybody come in, we're just going to give a few minutes before we start the program. But we want to welcome you as you're coming in. Give it a few more minutes. Looks like we're going to have a lot of people interested in coins and currency tonight. See the participant numbers coming up. So, all right. Well, I'm going to get started. My name is Jill Kenny from the Chelmsford Library here in Massachusetts, and we're starting this program tonight called Coins and Currency. This is a webinar format, just so you know, so you can see us. We can't see you or hear you, but we can get you to contribute what you'd like to ask in the chat or the question and answer format. And what I'll be doing is I'll be monitoring that while Mike is giving his talk. So that is a great way. I see some people are already saying where they're from, which is really exciting. And also, while you're listening, I want you to know that Mike is going to be coming back and doing 2 more programs for us this fall. Each month we've been having him come. And so in November 13th, we're going to have a program on sterling silver, silver plate, and pewter. And then in December, on December 11th, we're going to have a stamp collection program. So if you're interested in any of those, I'm going to send out a list after probably tomorrow with a recording and some more programs coming up. So you got to look for those. But tonight you are here to hear about coins and currency, and would like to welcome Mike Ivanovich and dealing with House and Estate Content Series. So welcome, Mike, and I'm going to stop talking. So welcome.
Hey, Jill, thanks a lot. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming out. My name is Mike Ivanovich. I'm from Doylestown, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philadelphia. And we spoke at the library before. We do a whole bunch of different programs. We do a What's It Worth appraisal program. We do 4 home downsizing programs, 3 how to buy and sell on eBay programs. And this is one of a 12 program series where we talk about dealing with things around the house. And tonight we're going to talk about how you deal with coins and currency, whether it's your own collection or you've inherited collection or something like that. I'll give you a little background. I wear a lot of different hats. I'm an appraiser, and my job as an appraiser is to help people understand the value of what they've got. I'm an auctioneer, and although I can talk real fast if I have to, primarily what an auctioneer does is they help people turn those things they no longer want or need into cash. I have written a book called Home Downsizing in 4 Easy Steps, and this is one of the things I do. I help people deal with the stuff when they're downsizing, settling an estate, etc. For 10 years, I've had a radio show in Philadelphia called What's It Worth? Ask Mike the Appraiser. And after 10 years, I was going to retire, but they talked me into doing it once a month. So now we just do first Friday mornings from 9:30 to 10:30, first Friday of the month. I'm a national Zoom speaker. We've spoken at your library before, and we've spoken at over 700 libraries in the last 5 years. But arguably the best description of what I do is this. Take your house, turn it upside down and shake it. If it falls out, I'm going to deal with it one way or another. If it doesn't fall out, the realtor is going to deal with it. And one of the areas I deal in are basically coins and currency. So got a lot to cover. I'm going to have to run through things tonight. I'm going to introduce you to coins and currency. I guarantee you I cannot make you an expert in the next hour. But what I do guarantee is by the time we're done, you should know a lot more about coins and currency than you did at the start. We're going to talk about how to identify the coins that you may have inherited or are dealing with. We'll talk about how you assort a collection into good, better, best. We're going to talk face value, junk silver coins, numismatic coins, proof sheets, all this other, proof of mint sets, all this other stuff. We're going to touch on currency a little bit. We'll talk horse blankets and $2 bills, etc., silver certificates. We'll talk a little bit about how to value your coins and then sell them. We'll talk about grading and a whole lot more in the next hour. So we've got a lot to get through. Right now, you don't need these tools for tonight, but if you're going to be dealing with tools, I would suggest that you have these available for you when you're going through your collections. I prefer a 10x loop. You get them on Amazon for $10, $12 or something like that. They're not much. Or you could use a handheld magnifying glass, but a lot of times you'll need that to see the dates and the mint marks. I would suggest you get some sorting trays. I use these little plastic takeout food trays. They're great for storing pennies in one, dimes in another, however you want to do your sorting. You may want to get a Whitman's coin book or something like that. Now, I have it. I never use these coin books for values. I go for current values elsewhere, but these coin books are still valuable when it comes to determining what the mintage was, how to identify mint marks, things like that. So they're still worth their money. If you're going to keep some coins, you might want to get some 2x2 flips, some coin tubes, maybe some albums to store the things in. And then you'll also need access to eBay, the internet, because I use eBay pricing far more than I use these coin books or anything else. So these are just some things. You don't need any of these for tonight's program, but if you're going to get into this, you probably should get some of these things down the road. All right, welcome to numismatics, which is the field of collecting. What's a numismatist? It's a coin collector. That's just a common term. A philatelist is a stamp collector. A coin collector is a numismatist. We're going to be talking tonight about face value coins. That stuff that you carry in your pocket is worth no more, no less than what it is. We'll talk about junk silver. I'll get into that in a little while. Hugely important. If you know coins, these are coins that are 90% silver. I'll tell you how to identify them. They may not have numismatic values per se, many of them, but they're still 90% silver, and silver is now over $45 an ounce. They can bring good money. We'll talk about numismatic coins, the collectible coins, because face value there usually doesn't matter. With a good numismatic coin, the value is worth a lot more than face value. We'll touch on bullion coins. We'll touch on commemoratives. We'll touch on mint proof sets, like I said. We'll get a little bit on tokens, medallions. Foreign coins we're not going to touch base on. I'll tell you what to look for there. But what determines a coin's value? There's a lot of different factors. It's not just one thing. Look at, first of all, the type of coin. You know, the Morgan silver dollar is arguably one of the most popular collectible coins. They're generally going to bring more money than Lincoln pennies. A Morgan dollar is going to be 90% silver. It's going to have 3/4 of an ounce of silver. Pennies are just copper. And yet, if you have your 1909 SVDB Lincoln cent, it's going to be worth more than a whole lot of silver dollars. So type of coin is important. What's it made of? Obviously, gold at $4,400 an ounce is going to be worth more than silver at $45 an ounce, which is more than copper. So the metal composition is going to mean a lot. The year it was minted, real important. Mint marks, we'll be talking about those. Some coins have mint marks, some don't. Certain mint marks, like the Carson City dollar, are going to be worth a lot more money than, as a rule of thumb, than the other mint marks. Condition is hugely important in coins. Scrap value. Some coins are just easier to scrap them for the silver value, but again, we'll talk about all of this stuff. We'll talk a little bit about grading. But the bottom line is, what's going to make a coin valuable is how many other people want it. Doesn't matter what the books say. If you can't find a buyer, it's not going to be worth all that much money. If you've inherited some coins, you may want to try and make an honest assessment of what you've inherited. If you've just inherited a jar of coins, it's not a collection, that's an accumulation. But you want to go through these jars to make sure you don't have any junk silver. Again, we'll get into that in a little while. Then there's the kids' collections. Kids collect, every boy and girl collected coins and stamps at some point in their life early on, and they usually gave it up. And the problem with stamps is stamps were not as liquid as coins. So when I was a kid, if I needed a quarter to buy 5 packs of nickel baseball cards, I'd nail my coin collection and take out a quarter and go to the store. So a lot of kids' coin collections got depleted. Kids didn't have money to invest in coins. They generally got coins from family members or whatever. Then there's the casual collector. You know, they kept them in these binders, these blue binders, but you know, these are relatively cheap, elementary binders, if you want to call it that. Maybe you inherited a collection of a serious numismatist. That's good, because these people did sometimes invest money in coins, and they took greater care to get the best quality coin. And then if you really are lucky, you will have inherited a collection from an advanced numismatist. These people bought the best of the best that they could afford, and generally that's going to be worth a lot more money. Mint marks. are going to have a big bearing on what your coins are worth. With most coins, Philadelphia, if there's no mint mark, it's Philadelphia. There's a couple of exceptions to that. I'll try and touch on that later. But if you see 1950 with no mint mark, we know that was a Philadelphia mint. Whereas if you have a 1950 with the D, the Denver underneath it, we know it was Denver, and S would be San Francisco. Then there's other mint marks. Here's the S, on a silver dollar, the mint mark is not right under the date, but it's in the back underneath the eagle there. New Orleans, same thing. That was just an O. Arguably one of the most desirable mint marks in silver dollars is Carson City. For maybe 7 or 8, 9 years, there was a mint in Carson City because it was easier to mint the coins, the silver coins there from the mines than shipping it back east. And then you might see, I've never seen a Charlotte before. West Point makes a lot of the commemoratives. Donalaga, Georgia, never saw one of those. So you're not going to see more of these. And if you see a coin from the New York Mint, you've got a fake, because there is no New York Mint. The New York Mint was a private company that you'll see them advertising on TV. The New York Mint has just acquired a new hoard of silver dollars. That's a private company. There was no mint in New York City. Condition, hugely important. Mint uncirculated versus badly worn value is hugely different. Now, traditionally, we looked at coins in 3 buckets. There were uncirculated coins, coins that were in almost perfect shape. They never were uncirculated, so hence they didn't have scratches and wear. Fine were just very good coins. In coins, condition is kind of misleading because in coins, a coin that's called good, sometimes you can't even barely read the date. But this is what they traditionally did. And then around 1948, a guy by the name of Dr. William Sheldon came up with a Sheldon grading system. And that's where the coins are graded from 0 to 70. Why 70 instead of 100? I have no idea, but that's what he did. So a coin that's graded 4, you can barely read the date. A coin that's minted, graded MS, mint state 65, is going to be worth a lot more money. And yet a coin that's graded MS 67, 68 might be worth twice what an MS 65 is. There's a whole lot of condition components beyond the naked eye. You know, when they grade a coin, we'll talk about grading, they look at the luster. How well is the service been conserved? Are there lots of scratches? Even an uncirculated coin will probably have minor scratches from when the coin was minted and then drops into the bucket there. How strong was the strike? Some strikes are better than others. What's the coloration, the toning, the eye appeal? All these things come in. And then my opinion of grading is not going to be as well accepted as one of the professional grading companies, and we'll get into that. All this stuff is important when it comes to determining what it's worth. Rule of thumb, uncirculated is almost always better than circulated, but there's exceptions to that. Certain coins may have badly worn, but if there's not many of them out there, they will still command a premium price. Now let's talk a little bit about grading. eBay, the internet, has become hugely important for buying and selling coins. And if I'm going to bid on a coin that's worth a lot of money on eBay, I want to know this right. And just because the seller tells me it's in perfect condition doesn't mean it is. So the way they've gone around this, and there's a bunch of companies, ICG, ANAX, NGC, Professional Coin Grading Service. You can send your coins out to these independent companies, and they will do 2 things. First of all, they don't give it a value. What they will do is they will say, yes, in our opinion, it's authentic. And B, on a scale of 1 to 70, generally, this is how we grade it. There's pros and cons. The biggest pro is when you go to put that coin up on eBay that's been graded, people say, okay, we trust PCGS. If they say it's a 67, I'm going to bid more comfortably than if it was just the owner telling me he thinks it's a 67. So what they do is they encapsulate the coin. They'll give the technical information about it. They'll grade it. They'll give it barcode and hologram and all that other stuff. And the case is tamper resistant. The downside is it's going to cost you anywhere from probably 35 to 50 bucks on up to hundreds of dollars to have select coins graded. And it might take you a couple months to get your coins back. So not all coins deserve to be graded, but just so you know that there are a bunch of different coin grading companies out there. Okay, your coin is a little dull. When should you polish a coin, ladies and gentlemen? Never, ever, ever polish a coin, at least not an investment quality coin. You want to go polishing your 2002 Lincoln cents or common, just face value coins, that's fine, but never polish a coin because there's some abrasiveness in there that will scratch the coin. And if you send a coin that's been highly polished, you may think you're going to fool somebody by making it shiny, but people can tell that it's been graded. Just the way it doesn't have the natural patina anymore. Most grading companies won't even grade a coin that's been polished. Okay, so you've got this coin, this collection of coins. This is staked, whether your coins or your inherited, whatever. One of the first things you want to do is sort through them. But before you sort through, make sure you give yourself some room to spread out. A good place to do it for a lot of people is on like the kitchen dining room table where there's a light right above it because you want good light. Maybe put the coins on a soft tablecloth or something where they're not going to get damaged. You don't want to do it like on a concrete surface or anything like that. Good lighting will help you see things. I don't use gloves. My coins aren't that valuable, but you see coins where these millionaires have these beautiful, highly expensive coins, and they want gloves and a mask. I don't use those, but that's up to you. And then you want some trays, bags, things to hold them. If you want to put dimes in one location, whatever else, there's a whole lot of other things. So we want to sort the coins. How do we sort coins? This is probably the best place to start. No right, no wrong way. Everyone's going to look at this a little differently. I look at it in time versus reward. If I had this many pennies, I'm not going to sit there. I'm sorry, I don't have time to go through all of those, looking through them for a 1909 SVDB. But if I have silver dollars, I'm definitely going through those babies. I got junk silver. I'm going through them, walking liberties and things like that. So one of the first things I would suggest you do is you sort by either the metallic composition of the color. Your copper coins go in one location. Then we can sort them later on between U.S. pennies, Canadian pennies, etc. Silver coins, or what we think are silver, might go in another pile. The gold coins, I hope you have a lot of gold coins, but I can't tell you how many times I've had calls from people tell me they had a lot of gold coins. And when I went out to help them out, all they had was Sacagawea gold coins or things like that. So there's other exceptions to that, but that's the best way to start sorting is by color or by metal composition. Maybe you want to sort by the type, loose coins, proof sets, mint sets, albums, things like that. That's just all you're trying to do is get started to see what's there. And then you may want to sort by denomination, put the quarters in one pile, half dollars in another, and that just kind of gets you going in the right direction for sorting. If you're going to sort by type, certainly I start with US versus foreign. Don't overlook foreign coins, but more often than not, what we're going to see for foreign coins are things that Dad or Grandpa brought back from World War II, World War I, or it's a leftover pocket change that somebody had when they took an international trip. We look at the face value of these things. Face value is face value. But I'm more interested in the numismatic coins. A silver dollar is never worth less than $1, but it's a little more than 3/4 of an ounce of silver. So at $44 an ounce, $45 an ounce, these things should be worth right around $30 or more just for the silver value. And then if you have a Carson City mint mark or a rare date, it could be worth hundreds into the thousands of dollars. Then you got your mint sets, your proof sets, your commemoratives. We'll talk again about those in a little while. So if you may want to sort by denomination, if you have these binders, leave them in the binders for now. What I have found is usually, but not always, the correct coin is put in the right date. So if you have a penny album and you see a coin that's marked 1909 SVDB, well, get excited, but check it because there's a good chance somebody might have put another coin in there just as a filler. So always check the dates and all. And when you sort by denomination, you got your silver coins are your dimes, quarters, halves, and there's going to be a big difference between face value coinage, junk silver coinage. Silver dollars, generally, your Morgans are going to be more desirable than the peace dollars. They have the same amount of silver. Numismatically, Morgans almost always bring more than peace dollars. And even when you go to scrap them, a lot of dealers will pay you a little bit more for a Morgan than a peace dollar. And then you got your non-silver dollars. Your non-silver dollars, meaning there's no silver in them. Your Eisenhower, Susan B. Anthony, Sacagaweas, gold presidential coins. We'll talk about these in a little bit. Hopefully you've got some good gold coins. Gold is $44, $45, $4,400 an ounce now. And a double eagle is almost 1 ounce of gold. So that coin's going to be thousands of dollars just for the scrap value, let alone any added value numismatically. Commemoratives are, a little bit of there. We'll get into these guys soon. So face value coinage. That's what you got in your pocket. There's no precious metal value to that. You might see these in jars. It's worth no more, no less than the face value. But what I would highly encourage you to do, if you have, for example, an old bank, and there's coins in there, and it's possible the bank is from 40, 50, 60 years ago, don't assume those coins are face value. Open up that bank and look to make sure you don't have any junk silver in there. But face value coins, that's all. You can spend them. That's all. There's no investment value as far as I'm concerned. Numismatic coins. Numismatic coins, the value is greater and oftentimes hugely greater than face value. And the value of numismatic coins is usually based on a whole bunch of different factors. Condition is going to be huge, the year, the type of coin. Again, Morgan silver dollars are one of the more popular U.S. coins, but not all Morgan dollars are equal. A Carson City Morgan dollar will be worth a lot more than generally a Philadelphia coin. Now, let's talk junk silver, because this is something that a lot of people don't understand. Junk silver is truly a misnomer. A lot of people will say that the money that the government issues us today is what's really the junk. Junk silver is defined as pre-1965, 1964 and earlier, dimes, quarters, half dollars. Those coins are 90% silver. So although they may not be numismatically collectible, a Roosevelt dime from 1948, what's a dime? But it's 90% silver. So it will be more valuable for the silver that's in it than it will be for the collectability of the coin. And the value of silver fluctuates up and down based on the price of silver. Junk silver trades at what we call times face value. You could call various coin dealers, you can call gold stores, sometimes you could call a jeweler and say, are you buying junk silver? Yes, we are. Well, what are you paying times face value? What's your face price? What that means is that they may, well, I'll give you a couple examples in just a minute, but if the price of silver rises like it is now, they should be willing to pay you more times face value. If the price of silver goes down, they're going to pay you less. So, for example, if you have some junk silver dimes, mercury dimes, that are not really numismatically rare, but they still have that silver, or Roosevelt dimes up until 1964, the dealer may say, we're paying 15 times face value. What that means is they'll pay you $1.50 for each dime you've got. If you have junk quarters and their price of silver is down, they're only paying 10 times face. A quarters are worth $2.50 each. Or junk halves, Franklin halves, 1964 JFK half dollar, the Walking Liberty half dollar. They're paying 20 times or more. So a junk silver half, if they're paying 20 times face, they're worth about $10 each. And today, it's not uncommon to be able to get 30 times face value. So junk silver can really be worth a lot of money. Now, here's an example. I was doing an appraisal at somebody's house one time, and mom had died, or dad had died, left mom some coins. The kids were getting ready to deal with this. And I found 4 coffee cans in the basement. I said, what are you doing with these coins? They said, well, we're going to deposit them in the bank tomorrow, face value. I said, let me go through them. They were all junk silver coins. And the family would have deposited about $1,500 into the bank. I got them over $25,000 because the coins were worth that much money. Dad had realized junk silver, but he probably never communicated it to mom. So don't overlook the value of junk silver coins. All right, now I'm going to take some time, just go through some of the coins you're most likely to see as you're going through the coins in your house. Pennies, generally the least valuable. This is what kids collected. Kids didn't have generally the money to invest in Morgan dollars, peace dollars, 50-cent piece. So they collected pennies. Something, and I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm not going back to the early 1800s, late 1700s, but it's not unusual for you to see large cents, large pennies. These are from like the mid 1850s. They're about the size of a quarter, and they're copper. And they're not hugely valuable, you know, 10, 20, $30, unless you have a highly graded coin, a highly uncirculated or a rare date. 10, 20, $30 is not uncommon for these things. Then you have the flying eagle cents. The walking liber, or I'm sorry, the large cent was replaced by the flying eagle cent. That was only out there for 3 years, 1856 or 1858. Not hugely valuable, but there's still people will still buy them. Then you have the Indian head cents. They went from 1859 to 1909. Condition means everything because these are not rare. A lot of people think they're rare because I've never seen them. There's lots of them out there. A few of them are worth a lot of money. Most of them are worth 5 or 10 cents, depending on the condition. That was replaced. Indian head cents were replaced by the wheat backs. The wheats on the back of the coin, they're generally copper pennies. They're copper pennies, but they have the wheat sheaves on the back. And they went to about 1958 when those Lincoln pennies were replaced by the Lincoln Memorial on the back. So these are pennies. Most of them aren't going to be worth a whole lot of money. Wheatbacks, maybe 3, 4, 5 cents each, depending what you could get for them. Most Lincolns, I consider anything after 59 worth face value only. So you'll probably see some pennies. Don't expect them to bring huge money unless you happen to get a rarity or unless you have something that's in absolutely uncirculated condition. A lot of people think they got some zinc cents. Ooh, I got something valuable. They're not. During the year 1943, the government, we were in the middle of World War II, copper became more valuable than steel. So what they would do is for 1 year, they took the Lincoln penny, the Lincoln design, the wheatback, but they produced it on zinc-coated steel. You'll see them, the Philadelphia will not have the mint mark, but you'll see the D or the S's. Even in mint uncirculated condition, there's not a ton of value there because there's so many of them around. But if you left these things in water for a week or two, they start rusting. One way, there have been, there's a lot of fakers and everything. There have been people who took a 1943 penny, coated it with copper, and tried to pass it off as a rarity because there were no copper coins in 1943. So one way you get around that is if you have a magnet, just put a magnet on your zinc penny. It'll pick it right up. So if you try a magnet on a copper coin, it won't pick it up. But don't think these are rare, ladies and gentlemen. There's lots of them out there. Then you're going to see in the 19th century, there are some 2-cent coins and 3-cent coins. Some of the 3-cent coins are silver and non-silver. These can have, modest value, $10 to $50, depending on the condition also. Again, brilliant uncirculated condition is a whole different story, but most things you'll find in an inherited collection are going to be of nominal but collectible value. When it comes to nickels, most of the things you'll see are like these Liberty heads. They got the Liberty head in the front, and they got the V for the Roman numeral V for 5 cents in the back. They went up until about 1913. That was replaced by the Buffalo nickel. The Buffalo nickel, sometimes it's called the Indian head nickel because you got the Indian head in the front, the buffalo in the back. Most of them aren't worth that much money. The problem with these coins is the date wore off. The date was right down here. This one is a nice clear date, but more often than not, you're going to see the badly worn coins, not even a date. If there's no date, there's no silver in it, there's no precious metal value, that's fine. Now, this particular coin is the 1937 D. There's a mint mark D under where it says 5 cents. If you notice, the buffalo only has 3 legs. hugely valuable if you could have one of those, but it's like winning the lottery. I have never seen one. Buffalo nickel is replaced by the Jefferson nickel. They're still using that. But what's interesting is during the war, during World War II, they started minting the Jefferson nickel with silver, and these were 35% silver. So they look different. They're darker. But if you flip it on the back, you'll see the mint mark above the Jefferson Memorial. And the Philadelphia mint mark will have a P. So a 1944 P would be Philadelphia. D is Denver, obviously. S would be San Francisco. And you can get a premium price for these war nickels because there's 35% silver. Might get a couple bucks for them sometimes. Dimes. Now we're starting to get into junk silver. This is where things start picking up numismatically and or junk wise. 1892 to 1960 was the Barber dime. Now you'll also see a Barber quarter and a Barber half in just a minute. But you got the date, you got the mint mark in the back. They're pretty collectible. They're usually pretty well worn. Some people won't even give you, some scrappers won't even give you full silver price because these have a tendency to wear down and they're lighter. For example, they don't have as much silver in them as a mercury dime. These were replaced by the mercury dime. You got the mercury head on the front and the reeded post in the back. Here, the date is in the front and the mint mark is around 6:30, 7 o'clock on the back. This one is a D. Those are always silver. Before you scrap those, check your Whitman's book to see if you by chance have a rarity. Don't worry about the price, but see if you have a rare coin. If you have a rarity, then we can go to eBay to see what they're selling for. Roosevelts. There's two types of Roosevelt dimes. 1945 to 1964, junk silver. Those are 90% silver. Then in 65, the Roosevelt turned to clads. A clad coin is basically, for all practical purposes, a copper coin that's painted with silver paint. That's not technically accurate, but that's what it looks like. And so the Roosevelts kind of get to be a little different. You have to differentiate the silver from the clads. And one way to start is you hold them on the side and you'll look and you'll see that the clads, you can see the copper in almost every instance. The silver coins, you're not going to see any copper. Now you want to double check the date, but this is one way I get rid of the clads right away. I don't even have to look at the dates because if there's copper, they're clad, get rid of them. So dimes, now we're starting to get into some sellable coins. The quarters. Here's your Barber quarter. Kind of same thing. 1892 to 1916. And Barber, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Barber is the individual who designed the coin. Then you got the Standing Liberty coin. They came out from 1916 to 1930. If you find a Standing Liberty coin in good condition, congratulations, because most of them were like the Buffalo nickels. The date down the bottom was usually worn off. So you could sell it for scrap silver, but if you don't have a date or a mint mark, especially a date, you probably don't have a numismatically collectible coin. That was replaced by the Washington silver quarter. These went from 1962 to 1960, or 32 to 64. Some of the most valuable ones are like 1932D and 1932S. They didn't make many of those. So you always want to check those dates. And then from 65 to present, the Washington quarter was clad. No precious metal value whatsoever. State quarters, I'm not big on. I mean, this was a way that the government was trying to get people more involved in coin collecting. They came up over a 10-year period. I think it was 5 states a year they would come out with coins. But I don't know. I don't find any of these that make me any money. Most were produced in huge numbers. Here, Connecticut, 1999. 688 million Philadelphia coins, 657 million Denver coins. Not a whole lot of value there outside face value. But what you do want to look for, some state quarters or silver proof sets. If you see that silver proof set, you got a premium piece, not hugely valued. You're not going to retire on it, but it's going to be worth more than the generic state quarter proof set because these are going to be 90% silver. Your half dollars. Similar transition. Barber, half dollars, 1892 to 1915. Replaced with the Walking Liberty. As far as I'm concerned, next to the Morgan dollar, the Walking Liberty is one of the next most collectible coins. Date on the obverse in the front, mint mark on the back around 8 o'clock. If you don't see a mint mark, it's Philadelphia. Walking Liberty was replaced by the Franklin half dollar. As far as I'm concerned, Franklins are always scrap. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of them unless you have an absolutely MS 65, 67, MS 70. They're circulated Franklins are going to generally, as far as I'm concerned, be considered junk silver. Then you got the JFKs. Everybody hung on to their JFKs because they thought they were going to be more valuable, but they were so widely produced. John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. This coin came out in 64 to commemorate him. The 64 is 90% silver, junk silver. Even if it's in perfect shape, there's millions of them out there that are in perfect shape. So I just scrap mine and take the junk silver value. But you also have the JFKs from 65 to 70. Those have some silver. This is an exception to the junk silver 1965 cutoff date. For whatever reason, Kennedy's 65 through 70, they were at 40% silver. So you're not going to get the full value of a 90% silver coin, but they'll pay you above face value for that. And then once you hit the 1971 to today, they're clads. They're worth 50 cents as far as I'm concerned. So I would do the same thing I suggested that you do with the dimes. You look on the side. If you see copper, put them into the face value category, and then you start checking the date to see what you have, to see if you have a 64 or one of the 40% coins. Silver dollars. There's three types of silver dollars you may come across in a coin collection in your house. First of all, the trade dollars, 1873 to 1885. Nice coin. But what I have seen is there's some fakes of these coming in from China. So one of the way you might possibly protect yourself is to try one of these with a magnet. If it's steel or some kind of metal, the magnet will attract it. You know you got a fake. If it doesn't fail the magnet test, it doesn't guarantee it's all right, but the magnet will be your first step. Then you got your Morgan dollars, 1878 to 1921. A hugely popular coin. As far as I'm concerned, these are the most popular U.S. coin today, outside of gold, of course. You got the Lady Liberty on the front, and you got the spread-winged eagle on the back. The mint mark will be above the DO in the dollars, but below the wreath, if there is one. If there's no mint mark, it's Philadelphia. 1921 to 1935, with a few exceptions. There's a couple years they didn't produce peace dollars. Peace dollar was produced. Different Lady Liberty on the front, the closed wing eagle on the back. The mint mark on the peace dollar is going to be somewhere here around about 8 o'clock on the reverse. Morgan dollars generally bring more money than peace dollars. There's a couple exceptions. You have to check the books on that. And this is where I run into a lot of problems with clients where I have to disappoint them. There are a lot of non-silver dollars. Now, the Eisenhower silver dollar, they were issued from 71 to 78 as clads. All of them are clads except the proof coins. If you have an Eisenhower and a proof set, we'll get into that in just a minute. Those are 40% silver. Susan B. Anthony's, no silver in these things. Susie Floozy, they call them, because people didn't like them. The coin just didn't catch on because it felt more like a quarter than a dollar. And so they lasted a couple of years, but nobody really liked them. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of these in your collection, but they're generally going to be worth $1 and that's it. Sacagaweas, they're gold, but they're not gold. They're gold clads. They're worth $1, no more, no less, as far as I'm concerned. Then there's the Native Americana coins. There's other, you got some presidential coins. None of these are gold with real gold. They're like gold tone. Most of these are worth $1, and that's it. Now, if you have some real gold coins, hang on to them. Rare, better condition can mean huge increases over the scrap value. Now, when it comes to gold coins, you might have heard the term gold eagle. Or what a gold eagle is a $10 face value gold coin, 90% silver, just shy of a half an ounce of silver. Or gold, I'm sorry, gold, just shy of a half an ounce of gold. If gold is at $4,000, $4,400, you could probably get about $2,000 just for the gold. That's excluding any numismatic value. You have a double eagle. That's a $20 face value coin, bigger. It's about the size of a silver dollar, almost 1 ounce of gold. Half eagle is $5, quarter ounce of gold. Quarter eagle, getting a lot less gold, but it's still gold. And then there's even some gold dollars out there. I've seen some fake gold dollars, so you got to be careful. The Liberty Head coin, Liberty Head gold coin, they were issued from 1836 to 1907. There's a fair number of them out there. And a lot of people hung on to these things. So you don't be surprised if you find some in your collection. The Indian Head, replaced that 1907 to 1933. St. Gaudens was also, St. Gaudens was the designer of the coin. This might be the most popular of all coins. But then Roosevelt took us off the gold standard. They stopped producing gold coins in 1933. So when you look at your gold coins, just understand the starting price is the gold value. And then that value should go up based on the numismatic value. One interesting story I have with gold coins is I help people downsize. And I was dealing with somebody in a retirement community. Mom had passed away and they had to clean out her apartment. And they said that they were donating the clothes. And I said, have you gone through the pockets or anything else to see if there's anything in there? They said, no. I said, let's do it. So we emptied the clothes, and on one of the jackets she had, she had a blazer, there was a pin, and the pin was a double eagle $20 coin that had been converted into a pin. We at the time, gold was not nearly as high as it was. I think we got them $2,000 on that. They were ready to donate it. So my point here is be careful of some of these things, because a lot of people took these gold coins and converted them into pins, pendants, necklaces, things like that. If it's real gold, it's worth a lot of money, but there's some fake stuff out there too. Let's talk about mint sets. These mint sets were things that the government issued to collectors. These are coins that were they're real coins, regular coins, but they took them out of the hoppers before they became circulated, encapsulated them in plastic sleeves, and they issued them. They carry some value, but not a ton of value because they were so widely produced. The earlier ones, 1947, they only produced about 5,000 each. 2000, there were almost 1.5 million of these. So proof sets, you always, if you have 64 and earlier, remember, you got the 85 cents, you got a 50-cent piece, a quarter, and a dime that are 90% silver. So 64 and earlier are going to command a much more of a premium price than the later ones. And then there was a period of 66 and 67, the government issued what they call special mint sets. They look like this. The Eisenhower, I'm sorry, the Kennedy is going to be 40% silver, slight premium value, but not a ton. Proof sets, they look a lot like mint sets, except proof sets were struck on a highly polished blank, a planchette, a blank. And so that's how you tell it. It almost looks like a mirror. And people will pay a premium price for these babies. They were started in 1936. So the earlier the proof set, probably the better off you are. In 1936, they only did 3,800 of those. In 2000, they were nearly 5 million. So the farther back you go, the better the value. Today, these common ones, $5, $6, $7 at auction or something like that, less the commission. I mean, my rule of thumb is $5. So what you're going to get is, if you get $5 for $2.50 worth of face value coinage, that's about it. They're so common. But make sure you're not giving away the 90% silver things as clads. Coin rolls, not much here. Other than that, if you roll them yourself, big deal. But if you see something like with the original bank roll, this one is from the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, that can add a little bit of value, especially if you've got 90% coins in there. Commemoratives. Commemoratives have been issued by the government, as far as I know, from 1892. The first ones came out for the World's Columbian Exposition. Not a rare coin. There's a lot of them out there. Featured Columbus on the front. But they're out there. These were $50. There's some gold coins. Most of them are silver, but a lot of them are clads. They'll generally bring more if they've got the box than if they don't. But watch out, be careful, because there's a few of these sets. People don't realize it. There's a smaller gold coin bordered by 2 silver coins. Well, that gold coin can be worth hundreds of dollars. So just be wary of what you got. Condition is going to be hugely important, but most people never circulate these things, so they're all in mint condition. And a lot of times you don't know what it is. Most of these commemorative coins have a piece of paper in the box. And if you look at that, it will tell you which, if any, coins are gold or silver and what the weight is, etc. Bicentennial coinage, I'm not going to get into this. There's so much stuff out there. These are generally face value as far as I'm concerned. I don't know of any that were silver other than commemoratives. So they're generally face value type of coinage. Bullion coins are a different story. Bullion coins were not meant to be circulated as coins. Bullion coins were meant to be invested in. Most people have heard of the South African Krugerrand. Krugerrand, most people say it's arguably the most popular bullion coin there is. The Krugerrand, as a rule of thumb, is 1 troy ounce of gold. So I think there's a minimum, maybe $50 face value minimum, but you'd be a fool to sell for that. But these things fluctuate in value. The price of gold goes up, the price of your Krugerrand goes up. The price of gold goes down, the price of your Krugerrand goes down. There's different values. I think Krugerrand has like ½ ounce, quarter ounce, even a 10 ounce. But then Canada has the maple leaf. US, we have the silver eagle in terms of silver. And be careful that the silver eagle bullion coin looks a lot like the Walking Liberty half. But when you compare them side by side, the bullion coin is about 50% larger than the 50-cent Walking Liberty coin. St. Gaudens, U.S. has some gold coins here. The gold buffalo. These are, again, bullion coins issued by the U.S. Arguably, the Krugerrand, the U.S. coins, the Canadian maple leafs are going to be worth a lot of money, but many, many different countries did this. But just understand, I don't care what country is minted in, if you got a troy ounce of silver or gold or silver, you've got something that's worth some money. These collections may include some bullion rounds and coins. Engelhard issued a lot of bars. A lot of times they were just 1 ounce. This one was 10 ounces, 1 troy ounce of silver. Some of them were privately issued. Some of them were issued by the government. Most bars are 0.999 in purity. Gold will usually be 0.9999, 4 nines. And people buy them for investment quality. But the reason you don't have 999 coins is they would be too soft and malleable and the coin would bend or whatever it is. So just be aware of that. You might find some tokens in the collection that you're going through. Some are going to be worth more than others. Most of these were private issues. They're not legal coinage, but they were like a wooden nickel worth 5 cents at this particular store. But some of them can have some pretty good value. There's transportation, like bus tokens, New York City, SEPTA, Philadelphia, whatever. There are trade tokens issued by stores. This one was good for a certain amount of money at this grocery store in Kansas, Dodge City, or Osage City in Kansas. Civil War tokens can have a pretty good amount of money. They were issued during the Civil War. Hard time tokens, commemoratives also. There's some good money there. Heirs, a few have some significant value. Most of them aren't going to be worth much money. I mean, something like this, I haven't had a whole lot in getting a huge premium price on them. You'll see them occasionally. Usually these have been pulled before they reach circulation. But if you find a rarity in era, it's like winning the lottery. This is what we call the 1955 double stamp. I've never seen one, but these can bring tens of thousands of dollars, where the 1955 has been stamped twice. I mentioned this coin earlier. This is the 3-leg buffalo, 1937D. These bring good money. Again, I've never seen than myself. And then you got to be wary of the reproductions and fakes that are out there. There's fakes in everything, especially coins. So look closely when you get some of these things. This one right here, it looks real. It looks like a graded dollar. And yet what they're calling it is 1906 Indian head quarter eagle replica. They're telling you what it is. But what it is just layered in 24 karat gold. It's worth not much at all. Here's a nice reproduction dollar. Well, it looks real until you look on the back. And on the back, they tell you that it's a copy. So they're not going to rub that out. That's in there pretty good. But if you're not looking for it, if you don't know what to look for, you might think you got a gold coin. This particular gold bar weighed 19.591 ounces. Great, ton of value. Gold $4,000 ounce. You got a bunch of money. But then it's tell you on the back, this is a reproduction of what's stored in Fort Knox. It's a copy. It's worth nothing. It's plated. There's a lot of new silver dollars circulating through flea markets. They're made in China. They're worth nothing. I bought one or two as research, but beware of the fakes. They should not pass the magnet test. Use a magnet on some coins. It's not foolproof, but it's step one in determining if it's real or not. If the coin is drawn to it, it's probably a fake. And just beware. I'm good with coins, ladies and gentlemen, and yet in the last couple of years, I was at a house and the guy showed me 15 silver dollars. I didn't look that closely. I paid him scrap price for them. I got them home. Everyone was a fake. If I could get faked out, you can get faked out. Do your homework before you buy it. I didn't look closely enough, and I learned a lesson. So there's fakes out there. Buy from reputable dealers. Be wary of flea market people you've never seen before, you're never going to see again. Foreign coins, I'm not going to get a whole lot of this, but usually with foreign coins, the most valuable ones are going to be gold or silver. You're not going to see them very up. Silver, you'll see a lot of out there. But a lot of the foreign coins are things dad or grandpa brought back from the war. Or they're things left over from travel or trips or whatever like that. There's some rarities out there. I would suggest if you have a lot of coins, go through them. There's the clink test. You could take a coin and drop it on a hard surface, and silver is going to have a totally different sound than the clad coin. Clad coin thumps. A silver coin is going to clink. It just has a different sound. But foreign coins, they're out there. Many of them are valuable. Many are not. I'm not going to spend any more time on this, but just be wary that you will see some gold coins out there or some foreign coins. We talked about U.S. junk silver. Probably the most common foreign coins we'll find here in this country are Canada. Well, Canada also had junk silver. I believe their junk silver went up to 68. I'm not 100% sure here. But just be aware that Canada has silver, lots of silver coins too. All right, let's talk briefly about currency. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but if you inherited a collection of coins, you probably have gotten some currency. Currency, paper dollars. First thing you want to look for when it comes to currency is the series. This one is series 1953. They'll all have this on there. The series doesn't guarantee that it was printed in 1953, but it was printed in 53 or shortly thereafter. Okay, so the series is going to be important. This is a U.S. note issued by the U.S. government. We'll talk more about those in a minute. Okay, have you ever heard the term greenbacks? Okay, the first paper money was issued in 1861 by the U.S. government, and these were not backed by anything. They weren't backed by precious metals. They were backed by the good faith of the government. The United States promises to pay the bearer on demand $5. Well, they call these things greenbacks because they had greenbacks. They can be worth some money today, but condition is going to be hugely important. Some banks issued their own currency. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but between 1863 and 1965, certain banks were allowed by the federal government. These were called national currencies. This was issued by the Lowry National Bank of Atlanta, DeKalb, Illinois. These were national banknotes, and in order to issue their own money, they had to put some money in reserve with the Federal Reserve. I'm not going to get into the details. but there are many varieties. But my point here is if you see something issued by a local bank, don't think it's fake. It could carry a premium price, sometimes hundreds of dollars on up, but it's all going to depend on the condition. If you have a coin that's or a piece of currency that's got a corner ripped off, it's highly creased, badly worn, or whatever, not going to bring nearly as much money as the one that's in good condition. I've never seen a gold certificate, but these were similar to banknotes, except they were redeemable in gold. I've never seen one. I think the better these things can command some pretty good prices. And they were issued mainly in California, only for like a 5-6 year period. Okay, silver certificates. We all have silver certificates somewhere in the house. It tells us on top, this is a silver certificate. This is a series, I can't even read it. But silver certificates, what they were designed to be redeemable in silver dollars. Would you rather have $51 coins bouncing around in your pocket or a $51 piece of paper? So what the government did was they said they would issue these silver certificates and you could trade them in anytime you want for a silver dollar. Makes perfect sense because these were backed by silver. Until 1968, Johnson took us off the silver standard, and they quietly gave us 1 year to redeem these things, and most people didn't do it. You didn't know what to do. So from here on out, you can no longer take your silver certificate to a bank and exchange it for a silver dollar. So there can be a premium price. The farther back you go, the better the condition, the better the premium price. But just because it's a silver dollar, silver certificate doesn't mean it's going to be worth a ton of money. Federal Reserve notes. We saw national currency. We saw silver certificates, Federal Reserve notes issued by the Federal Reserve Bank. Same kind of thing. Look at the series. The farther back you go, these are not redeemable for silver, face value only. And again, backed by the faith and credit of the U.S. government. Condition. $2 bills. Everybody's got $2 bills in the house. Well, $2 bills are generally worth $2 for the more recent ones, especially the series 1976 bicentennial. So most of them aren't all that rare. But one of my favorite stories is I had someone tell me one time when they have a common $2 bill, what they usually do, they would go to a bar, for example. And then when they're staying at the bar, they would get their drinks. And he said, I would guarantee you, Mike, I would leave a $2 bill as a tip. I would watch the bartender. The bartender would take the $2 bill, put it in their pocket, put 2 ones into the till. They thought they got a bargain, and they gave me the best service I got the rest of the night. Perfect sense. But most $2 bills aren't going to be worth that much. I mean, they're worth more than $2, but the problem is you want to sell a $2 bill on eBay, it's going to sell for 2.25, and then by the time you pay commissions and everything else, you're losing money. So just be wary of that. But some of the early coins were large notes, large format. Generally 1861 to 1929, the currency was about 50% bigger than it was today. And they call these things horse blankets, I guess, because I don't know, they call them horse blankets. They would usually command a premium price because there's a lot of people out there who collect currency. I personally like coins because with currency, there's no precious metal involved. It's just a piece of paper. But I do collect the currency as well as coins. And there's a lot of varieties out there. So just beware. An early horse blanket, large coin or piece of currency can be worth a fair amount of money for you. So don't think it's fake. You might see some fractional currency. These came out during the Civil War and in other periods as well. 25-cent piece of paper currency, 10-cent piece of paper. They'll carry a premium price, but there's more of them out there than you realize. Not going to be worth. You're not going to retire to Florida based on your fractional currency. They use paper instead of cash. Blah blah blah. I believe I read somewhere you were able to redeem these for postage stamps. That was about it. I don't know if that's true or not anymore. Confederate currency. Be wary of it. It was issued by the Confederacy to finance the Civil War. Okay, not a whole lot of face value today, but it's got some pretty good collectible face value. But beware that there's a legitimate currency, Confederate currency, and then there's fake currency. From what I can see, most of the currency, many of the currency, Confederate currency notes were hand signed. whereas a lot of them were fake. So just be wary out there. But if you got Confederate notes, look closely because they could be worth some pretty good money. Coinage and currency are both graded. Here's a piece of currency. Someone sent it out to Paper Money Guarantee. They specialize in grading paper currency. This is a $2 bill dated 2003. Federal Reserve note from Philadelphia. Here's the key information about it. They graded this a 64 out of 70. It's encapsulated. Would I do that? No way, because they probably paid $50 to have a $2 bill graded, but that's what some people do that. Condition with currency. If it's in horrible shape, it's not going to be worth that much money. If it's torn in half, as long as you have 50% of it, you could take it to a bank and have it replaced by something else, but you need 50+% as far as I can understand. Foreign coins and currency, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. Just be aware that it's out there. Foreign currency is beautiful sometimes. And there's sometimes you can take foreign currency to some of these international currency banks or brokerage places where you can convert the foreign currency into US money. But a lot of them you can't. Most of these places I've seen, you can't trade in. Like I have lots of, probably a couple $100 worth of Canadian coinage. I can't trade that in anywhere. But with the silver dollar or with the currency, people can sometimes take it in if it's fairly current. But if it's tourism stuff would be fairly recent, you'll probably convert some of that stuff. Those foreign currency exchanges, but I got to drive an hour to get to one, so they're not really that valuable to me. With silver and gold, you need to understand what spot price means. As the spot price of gold and silver goes up, the value of your junk silver goes up. As the value of gold and silver goes down, the value of your junk silver goes down. If you want to, you can download an app from Kitco, KITKO.com. Download it on your app, on your phone. You can immediately tell what the price of gold and silver is because it changes every couple minutes, just like the stock market changes. So that way you have at your fingertips what gold and silver is doing. What's it worth? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, value does not equal an asking price. It is a sold price. What has it sold for recently? Realtors aren't going to put your house on the market and pick a number out of the air. They're going to look for comps. That's what we do with coins. We look for comps. What have comparable coins sold for recently? I use eBay. As far as I'm concerned, eBay is fair market value. eBay is contemporary value. eBay only lists what a coin or currency has sold for within the last 3 months because we don't care what it sold for in 1990. Right? We want to know what's it selling for today. So what you can do, if you want to find out what your things are selling for, translation, what it's worth, go to eBay completed prices. You have a 1878 Morgan silver dollar. Put that in. What's going to pop up is what's currently for sale. That's not value. Those prices will vary from $10 to $10,000, depending on the person who listed it. You want to go down on your screen to a section that says show only, and you want to click the sold items category button. When you do that, your screen is going to change, and the numbers are going to change from black numbers, which mean unsold on eBay, to green numbers, which mean sold. That will tell you what things have sold for within the last 3 months. eBay's been around for more than 25 years. They only give us the last 3 months of pricing data. Therefore, those sold prices really mean what someone literally dug into their pocket and paid for something in the last 3 months. I don't use any coin price guides for prices. I use coin guides to tell me how many were minted in any given year, to look for rarities. If I go through Morgan silver dollars and see a 19030 is bringing a lot more than everything else, I know I've got a rare coin, but I don't pay any attention to prices in the book. I go to eBay for my prices. Also understand, this is a book, I use it for pricing. This is a guidebook of US coins. It is a value guide. This is not telling you what your coins are worth. It's telling you what you might have to pay if you were to buy a coin like that. Value guide, price guide. Value guide, price guide. One means what it's worth. One means what you should expect to pay for something. Where do you sell your coins? Well, you got a lot of options, and there's pros and cons of each. I can't go through them all, but you got coin shops, you got coin shows. You want to go to a coin show? There's coin shows all over the place. Just Google coin shows in your zip code, and you'll find something. Maybe you take your coins there. Maybe you could sell them to a dealer. You can sell your things on eBay, other places on the internet. There's a lot of local auction houses have coin auctions. Some companies specialize in coins. Some of them might do monthly or quarterly coin auctions. They'll take your coins and sell them on consignment. But just understand, if you're going to sell your coins to a dealer, they're not going to pay what they're worth. They can't. They have to pay you a wholesale price, and then they've got to turn around and do all the work that you don't want to do and try and sell at a retail price. So if you want top dollar, you better be willing and able to do the most amount of work. If you don't want to do it, you can't do it, you don't have time, you're going to sell it to a dealer, you have to leave them room to make some money. You can set up at a flea market, all these different ways, common ways to sell your coins. Couple of things, let me wrap up here. Most amount of money equals the most amount of work. I'll work a lot harder with my gold coins than with my pennies. I already told you about the $25,000 junk silver story. 4 coffee cans brought $25,000. Condition, hugely important. Time versus reward. Take a lot more time to go through 1,000 pennies than it will 1,000 silver dollars. Would be probably much more worth it. Don't overlook foreign coins. There's money in them, but it takes even more work to figure out what's valuable and what's not. Should you pay for grading? I can't tell you. I mean, I'm not going to pay $35 to grade a $25 coin. I will pay $35 or $50 to grade potentially $1,000 coin or a $500 coin. So you're calling what you want to do there. Need any help with coins? This is how you reach me. I'm in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, 215-264-4304. It's my email address, info@michaelivankovich.com. We do verbal appraisals, written appraisals. We can sell your coins for you at 10%, a lot cheaper than the auctions. But what a lot of people use this for is they go to one of our websites called virtualappraisals.net. Virtualappraisals.net. We could get together with you just like we are right now, just us. And you show us your coins via Zoom, and we walk you through how's the best way to deal with these things. And another advantage of virtualappraisals.net, let's say you're handling the family's coin collection that you just inherited. Well, family members around the country can all join in the same Zoom meeting to hear what I'm saying, which works for a lot of people. We're ideal for estates. We'll do in person within an hour of Doylestown, but not up in Massachusetts. And that's our other, that actually, this is, actually, don't pay attention to this. It's virtualappraisals.net. I'll have to correct that, not .com. We are virtualappraisals.net. With that said, Jill, I'm done. I went a little bit over an hour. I'm sorry, but
Okay. I think one of the questions I think got answered, but we do have a couple questions. So if you have coins that were in a flood and they're corroded, are they still valuable? Should you clean them, and if so, with what?
boy, I can't imagine. I don't know. I can't imagine any coins corroding because they're such a hard metal, and other than the 1943 zinc penny. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure what to say there, but if it's an investment quality coin, I would not polish it. That's just me. If it's a newer coin, a clad coin, face value coin, that doesn't matter. It's polishing a face value coin is not going to change its value. It's the investment quality coins that could be hurt.
Okay. The next person said, I have lots of uncirculated state quarters. What can I do with them? I want to eliminate them from my collection.
You can't even take them to Atlantic City anymore because they don't have quarter slot machines anymore. I don't know. I'll be honest. I got a bunch here. They keep telling me there's rarities out there to bring money. I think that's hype. To me, they're worth a quarter. You might get a premium. Here's the problem. Let's say you have a state quarter album that has, I'm making up a number, $50 worth of quarters in it. Well, if you sell it at auction, it might sell for $55. But then you got to pay the auctioneer 25 or 35%. You're losing money. So you got to decide what's the way we do that. What a lot of people do is they say, fine, they'll give it to the grandkids. let the grandkids, hopefully it stimulates them into collecting coins. But I just don't personally, unless you got a rarity in those state quarters, I don't see a ton of value there.
Hmm. I think you answered this one, but how do you find a reputable person to value and purchase your coins? Is there a registry for people in the area that expertise? I know
Now,
you said you
no.
did have yours, but
I mean, we help people get going in the right direction. And around us, we help people sell coins because I can get you more for your coins than you're going to get on your own because I know how to value them and I know where to sell them. But there's no registry. So one thing you might want to do is post something on one of your local Facebook groups, local groups. Can anybody recommend any reputable coin dealers? And if the way I look at these things, the first one to come up is usually put by the coin dealer themselves. I'm looking for a bunch of people to say, hey, go to this person. They treated me fairly. You have to expect that whoever you sell your coins to is going to make a profit. They can't stay in business if they don't make a profit. But what you want is them to make a fair profit off you, not an obscene profit.
Okay. This question is, are American silver dollars from 1999 to 2000 real if painted
Are they real or what?
or painted?
I'm not aware of any 1999 silver dollars that are precious metal. So they should be clads unless I'm missing something.
Right. Okay. And then this person says, is it worth to keep junk silver hoping it goes up? That's
If
like the
I
playing.
knew the answer to that, I'll tell you. Nobody ever thought silver would be up to $45. And in brief, well, tell you right now, I'm going to go to my friendly Kitco app. And my Kitco app right now is telling me that gold has dropped a little bit. It's $3,985. Silver has gone up. It's $49. Okay. I think that's a record price for silver. It may not be, but it's pretty close. So is it going to go up? A lot of people say it's going to keep going up. A lot of people say I'm going to cash in today before it goes down. But what a lot of people do is just like with stocks, they do dollar cost averaging. Maybe instead of selling all of your silver dollars at once, if you got 100, maybe you sell 10 a week for the next 10 weeks and average it out or something like that.
Right.
If I knew whether it was going to go up or down, I wouldn't be here in the library. I'd be in, I don't know, I'd be in
Vegas.
Monaco or something.
Sure. Um, what coin ID apps do you like? You gave us one. But do you have is there an app that you use?
I'll be honest, I don't have any apps. I don't use those
No.
apps. I'm more concerned because I guess maybe because I could identify most coins. I just use eBay. I want to know what are coins selling for now. And the dirty secret of eBay is in a lot of instances, 90% of the stuff up there doesn't sell. So just because there's an asking price doesn't mean it's worth that.
Right. One actually after the gold and silver question, is the price of gold and silver a direct correlation?
No, but
I think
yes.
so.
Gold is usually the leader. Gold is the big money. But silver is oftentimes referred to as the poor man's gold. Many people can't afford $4,000 for an ounce, but they could afford $45 for an ounce of silver. So what usually happens is the price of silver usually follows gold, but maybe not immediately. But if gold's going up, silver's going to go up. If gold goes down, silver's going to go down. But there's a school of thought that suggests that silver should rise faster than gold because gold has no industrial use. Gold is for jewelry, and that's it. Gold doesn't tarnish. It's a hard metal. Silver is used industrially. They use silver in air conditioning. They use silver in
Like
solar
tools
panels,
and
for example.
lines. Yeah.
And so
Yep.
it's getting used up. So gold doesn't get used up unless it gets lost somewhere. Silver gets used up. So there are a number of people who think the government has been manipulating the price of silver. Some of the banks have been manipulating the price of silver. And now they've kind of lost control. They can't control it as much anymore. It's called spoofing. If you Google spoofing, you can read about how that works. But basically, the answer, long-winded way of saying yes, silver follows gold, but not sequentially.
Looks like one more question is kind of specific. Is a 1937 dime worth much?
I'm going to say probably it's worth junk silver value unless it's in mint condition. So right now, let's say if you get 30 times face value, a dime would be worth $3. So if it's in mint condition, a 1937 might be worth $10, $20, $30, whatever you can get for it.
Okay. Well, that's what we have for questions at the moment. And if people want to come in and again, November 13th is a program on sterling silvers, silver plate and pewter. And then we have one in December on the 11th for stamp collection. I did put the link for registration in there, but I'm going to send out an email to everybody with the recording tomorrow with links to those programs so that you can jump on and see another program by Mike.
Jill, here's what we're going to do next month. I'm going to show you how to calculate the value of your sterling silver. I'm going to show you how they do it. So your best defense against being taken advantage of is to know what you got before you go into the store. And I'm going to show you how to know what you got before you go into sell next month.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Have a good
guys,
night,
thank you all for coming out. Have a great night. We'll see you next month.
Bye-bye.